What happens when your dream role ends up breaking your heart? For Andrew Garfield, it only made him better. After years of working his way through British films, Garfield broke out in Hollywood with The Social Network. He was charming, vulnerable, and instantly in demand. Then came Spider-Man, his dream role since childhood. He poured everything into it, but behind the scenes, the experience was far from heroic. Studio politics and the scrapping of his sequels left him feeling lost, both with the industry and himself. But he didn't give up. He chased riskier and more personal roles that challenged him as an actor, like a soldier who refused to use a gun in Hacksaw Ridge, a priest questioning his faith in silence, a composer racing against time in Tick Tick Boom, and a performance so demanding it nearly broke him in Angels in America. Some of those roles took a year to prepare, but each one brought him closer to the kind of actor he wanted to be. This is the story of an actor who refused to give up, both with his career and his commitment to every role. This is Andrew Garfield. Before Spider-Man and The Social Network, Andrew Garfield was already earning a reputation as one of Britain's most promising young actors. Whether on stage or early TV dramas, critics kept pointing him out as the standout, and directors learned to rely on him for carrying the film's emotional weight. And Garfield always delivered. Born in Los Angeles in 1983, Garfield moved with his British parents to Surrey, England when he was 3 years old. He started taking acting classes at 9 but didn't take them too seriously. He was more into gymnastics and swimming and even planned to study business, which is funny considering how all three would show up later in his career. When he was 16, a friend convinced him to take a theater class just so it wouldn't get cancelled, and that's when everything clicked. He realized he wanted to pursue acting and later trained at the Central School of Speech and Drama, one of the UK's best programs, getting a lot of stage experience. After graduating, Garfield continued to focus on theatre, performing at the Soho Theatre in London and the Royal Exchange in Manchester. He earned Best Newcomer in 2004 for Kes and another Outstanding Newcomer award in 2006 for 3 different productions. But by 2007, he shifted his focus to television and film, where the recognition came even quicker. He appeared in Sugar Rush and 2 episodes of Doctor Who, but his real breakthrough came that same year with Boy A. In his film debut, he played a young man released from juvenile detention after killing someone as a child, trying to rebuild his life as his past resurfaces. Garfield's performance was devastating and deeply human, earning great reviews in the British Academy Television Best Actor Award.
Go ahead, boy.
The film instantly put him on the map as one of Britain's most exciting new talents. That same year, he also appeared in Lions for Lambs alongside Tom Cruise, Meryl Streep, and Robert Redford. Unfortunately, the film didn't review well, but it gave him his first major Hollywood experience and, along with Boy A, earned him a spot on Variety's 10 Actors to Watch list. By 2009, Garfield's momentum was impossible to ignore. He had a supporting role in The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, best known as Heath Ledger's final film. After Garfield's audition, Ledger hugged him and said, "Welcome to the family," knowing he was right for the part. Critics noted that it was Garfield's performance that gave this overly imaginative film heart. But his biggest work that year came with Red Riding 1974, the first of a trilogy based on the Yorkshire Ripper murders in the 70s and the 80s. Garfield played a young journalist investigating corruption within the police, and again, he stood out. The trilogy was praised across the board, with critics calling his performance haunting and deeply emotional. By this point, Garfield had proven himself across theater, television, and film, and it felt like the hard work was leading to something bigger. And that something bigger came in 2010, easily the most important year of his early career. He voiced the lead in Spike Jonze's short film I'm Here and starred in 2 feature films. The first was Never Let Go, where he played one of 3 boarding school friends caught in a tragic love triangle. Set in an alternate history Britain, the story gave him space to erupt emotionally. And even among strong performances from Carey Mulligan and Keira Knightley, Garfield stood out. But his other 2010 performance was the one that really launched him in Hollywood. David Fincher's The Social Network follows Mark Zuckerberg, played by Jesse Eisenberg, during the early days of Facebook, dealing with 2 lawsuits, one of them with co-founder Eduardo Saverin, played by Garfield. Fincher initially had Garfield audition for Zuckerberg, but realized it would be a waste for him to play such an emotionally guarded character, and thought he was perfect for Eduardo instead. It was a perfect fit. Garfield brought charm, humor, and heartbreak to his story about betrayal and ambition. He became very good friends with Eisenberg during the shoot, which only made the betrayal in the story tougher for them. And his I'm coming back for everything scene became one of the most powerful film moments of the decade.
You better lawyer up, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
The Social Network was a critical and commercial hit, earning multiple Oscars and introduced Garfield to audiences worldwide. It proved he could hold his own in a major Hollywood production. After this, Hollywood was knocking and Garfield could take his career in any direction. But there was one role that he could never turn down. In 2010, Andrew Garfield was officially cast as Spider-Man for what would become The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012. He'd been waiting for that call for 24 years, saying, "I've been preparing for it ever since Halloween when I was 4 years old and I wore my first Spider-Man costume. It was a dream come true." But with the reboot arriving only 5 years after Spider-Man 3, the pressure of replacing Tobey Maguire was massive. Garfield threw himself into the role. He studied spider movements to incorporate them into his own and took yoga and Pilates to improve his flexibility. His childhood gymnastics probably helped here as well. Director Mark Webb said he cast Garfield because he saw a rare combination of intelligence, wit, and humanity, which he believed defined Peter Parker. When Garfield first put on the suit, he admitted he cried. Maybe it's partly because it was uncomfortable, saying it's made of something that's designed to make you irritated, but mostly because he was finally becoming the hero he loved. During filming, he even walked around New York in full costume, playing basketball with kids. The reboot chose Gwen Stacy over Mary Jane as Peter's love interest, casting Emma Stone in the role. And the chemistry between Garfield and Stone was instant, both on and off screen, with the two even dating during production. Some of the film's best scenes came when the two were on screen together.
Yeah, I mean, like I took a photo of the debate team, and you're in the debate team, so.
Right.
So he must have seen. I was touching up stuff.
Touching up stuff. Come on.
Many thought the reboot came too soon, but critics praised Garfield for bringing a more youthful, heartfelt, and awkwardly funny version of Spider-Man. The film reviewed well, performed strongly at the box office, and set up a promising future for the franchise. And a sequel was already in development before the first one even came out. With the MCU finally hitting its stride after the Avengers, Sony wanted its own cinematic universe. They announced a third and fourth film before The Amazing Spider-Man 2 even came out. It looked like Garfield's future as Spider-Man was set. That same year, he also returned to the stage, making his Broadway debut in Death of a Salesman alongside Philip Seymour Hoffman, and earned a Tony nomination for playing Biff. It felt like Garfield was at a career high, but it wouldn't last. For The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 2014, everything got bigger. The budgets, the cast, and the ambitions. But Sony was a little too ambitious. Garfield wanted to focus more on Peter Parker's emotions while the studio pushed for spectacle and setting up the sequels. The studio interference that was manageable in the first film became overwhelming in the second. Critics called it a film overstuffed with plot lines, set pieces, and villains, with Garfield and Stone being its saving grace. The movie ended up underperforming, the sequels were scrapped, and Sony struck a deal with Marvel to reboot Spider-Man again for his introduction to the MCU. Ironically, Garfield had already pushed Sony to make a deal like that years earlier. This experience crushed him. He was so proud to wear the suit, but later said, "I was never Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's a fictional character. He's not real. I was the actor that I am, the person that I am." That same year, he starred in 99 Homes, playing a father who loses his house in the 2008 housing crisis and takes a job with the man who evicted him to win it back. The film couldn't have been more different than Spider-Man, earning strong reviews and showing that Garfield was still a serious actor. Like his character rebuilding from nothing, Garfield would do the same after losing the role that meant everything to him. Spider-Man broke his heart, but it didn't break him. After taking time to reflect, Garfield was ready to return to the kinds of roles that reminded him of why he loved acting. The ones that challenged him not just as an actor, but as a person. In 2016, Andrew Garfield came back stronger than ever, starring in 2 films, Hacksaw Ridge and Silence. Both dealt with faith and sacrifice and were the hardest roles he had taken on so far. Hacksaw Ridge came out first, but he prepared for and filmed Silence before it. In Martin Scorsese's Silence, he plays one of 2 17th century Portuguese Jesuit priests alongside Adam Driver, who travel to Japan searching for their missing mentor where their faith is tested. After the messy Spider-Man experience, it was the perfect chance to slow down and immerse himself in a role. He took a year off to prepare, grew out his hair and beard, and lost over 30 pounds. Guided by Jesuit priest James Martin, Garfield spent months studying the Jesuit lifestyle and mindset. He and Driver even attended a silent retreat in Wales, fasting and not speaking for a week, and Garfield later called it one of the most spiritual and transformative experiences of his life.
I pray, but I'm lost. Or am I just praying to nothing? Nothing.
The film received strong reviews, with Garfield praised for his commitment, though it underperformed at the box office. For Garfield, that didn't matter. Silence was an important project for him and Scorsese. Right after filming Silence, Garfield shaved the beard, got a haircut, and went straight into Hacksaw Ridge, directed by Mel Gibson. He played real-life World War II medic Desmond Doss, who saved 75 men without firing a gun. Garfield said he cried when he first read the script and took the role as a tribute to his brother, a doctor inspired by what he called the never-enoughness of the profession. The real Doss's son teared up at Garfield's performance because of how accurate the portrayal was, and critics called it one of his best.
I got the energy and the passion to serve as a medic. Right in the middle with the other guys, no less danger, just while everybody else is taking life, I'm gonna be saving it.
The film reviewed well, was a box office success, and earned Garfield his first Oscar nomination, yet he'd only get better. In 2017, he starred in Andy Serkis's directorial debut, Breathe, playing an adventurous man paralyzed by polio at just 28 years old. The reviews were mixed, with critics saying Garfield was a bit wasted in a role that left him little to do beyond smile and nod. But that same year, he took on something far more demanding. On stage, he starred in Angels in America, first in London and later on Broadway, playing Prior Walter, a gay man living with AIDS during the 1980s crisis. It became the hardest role of his life. Performing the emotionally devastating two-part play almost every night for 18 weeks pushed him to the edge. Most actors will tell you how difficult theater is, especially because of the endurance needed. Garfield said there were nights where he'd wake up wanting to cry, convinced he couldn't keep going. He felt on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but despite all that, he never missed a show, which is rare. Critics called him unrecognizable and magnetic, saying nothing he'd done before could prepare audiences for his performance. He earned an Oliver nomination for the London run and won the Tony Award for Best Actor for the Broadway run. But in the audience during one of those shows was Lin-Manuel Miranda, who'd soon cast him in Tick, Tick, Boom. Before that, Garfield explored stranger territory with Under the Silver Lake in 2018, playing a man investigating his missing neighbor in this weird conspiracy thriller. The film received mixed reviews but had a cult following, with many fans calling it one of his most underrated performances. In 2020, he went fully unhinged and mainstream, playing an over-the-top, eccentric guy who becomes viral on YouTube. It's a satire on internet fame that didn't do too well. Then came 2021, the busiest year of his film career. He co-starred with Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, playing the husband and televangelist Jim Bakker. Critics described Garfield as both magnetic and pathetic, intentionally so, with Chastain taking most of the praise, even winning her Oscar for it. But that same year, he led Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut, Tick, Tick, Boom, playing real-life composer Jonathan Larson, the creator of Rent. The film follows Larson trying to make it in the industry before turning 30.
I can't keep wasting my time, Mike. I turned 30 in 2 days.
And
Stephen Sondheim was 27 when he had his first show on Broadway.
Larson tragically died at 35 before Rent premiered off Broadway, and Garfield felt lucky to play him and really wanted to honor him with this performance. Miranda chose Garfield after seeing him in Angels in America, but there was one problem. Garfield couldn't sing. Miranda called their mutual massage therapist to ask, and the therapist said he has the voice of an angel. Then the therapist immediately called Garfield to check whether he could sing, and he couldn't. But Garfield dedicated a full year to vocal and piano training and did all his own singing in the film, even when COVID protocols tried to stop some of his live singing. He was also a better swimmer than the stunt double hired for the pool scene, something he'd always been good at, so he did it himself instead. The performance consumed him. He struggled to sleep because of the weight of the role and how tragic it was. What made it even more personal was that Garfield's mother passed away from pancreatic cancer shortly before filming. Between Tammy Faye's exploration of faith and Tick, Tick, Boom, the two roles became a way for him to process his grief. He said he felt lucky to play Larson, a man who lived fully and left behind art that outlasted him. Critics praised Garfield's performance as electrifying yet heartfelt, were surprised at how well he sang, and called it his career best. He even won the Golden Globe for it and received an Oscar nomination. After years of rebuilding and discovery, Garfield was finally at peace with his career, even saying he had to work very hard to have people ask fewer questions about Spider-Man. But as Tick, Tick, Boom released, a rumor began spreading that he and Tobey Maguire would return as Spider-Man. In 2021, rumors spread that both former Spider-Man actors would return for Spider-Man No Way Home, now that the MCU was exploring different dimensions. The trailer only revealed returning villains, but fans suspected more. With all the leaks and speculation, both Maguire and Garfield were constantly asked about it, especially Garfield, who was busy doing press tours for Tick, Tick, Boom and The Eyes of Tammy Faye. It was frustrating since Tick, Tick, Boom meant so much to him, yet the interviews were often flooded by Spider-Man questions. Still, Garfield handled it well. There are many funny videos online of him denying it. He later said that lying about his involvement was stressful but fun, and that he genuinely wanted to keep it a surprise. Even Lin-Manuel Miranda asked him about it while filming Tick, Tick, Boom, and when Garfield denied it, Miranda told him he needed to get better at lying. It's not a spoiler now, but yes, Garfield and Maguire returned for No Way Home, reprising their original roles as the different dimensions collided. Both actors accepted without reading the full script, trusting it would be done right. But the physical side was much harder this time because of their age. Garfield threw out his back during his first stunt and needed time to recover, but both of them worked closely with the writers to refine their characters' lives after the earlier films. When the two secretly attended a screening, they were stunned by the audience's reaction to their entrances. It was easily one of the MCU's biggest moments since Endgame. The film tore it up at the box office, and many critics thought Garfield's performance was the best. It even changed how audiences saw his version of Spider-Man, with many now calling his portrayal in the earlier films underrated. For Garfield, the return brought closure. He said the film gave all three Spider-Man actors a sense of healing and group therapy, a chance to celebrate their shared experiences instead of being seen as replacements. He now sees himself as a custodian of the character, rather than Spider-Man himself. Looking back, he's grateful for that time, saying it gave him the chance to work with top directors like Martin Scorsese and helped Silence get greenlit. Garfield became a much better actor after his disappointing go at Spider-Man, but No Way Home gave him the piece he needed to move forward. After No Way Home, Garfield continued choosing projects that interested him, even trying television again. In 2022, he starred in the limited series Under the Banner of Heaven, playing a detective investigating a double murder in 1984 Mormon community. The show earned strong reviews in his first Emmy nomination, but after that busy stretch, Garfield announced that he was taking a break, saying he needed to rest and be a bit ordinary for a while. He returned in 2024 with We Live in Time, a romance with Florence Pugh spanning a decade of their relationship. Garfield said he loved the script's message about the shortness and sacredness of life, something he's grown more aware of lately. The film performed well, carried by his and Pugh's chemistry, and when Pugh couldn't attend the premiere, Garfield even brought a life-size cutout of her on the red carpet. In 2025, he starred in Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, playing a professor accused of sexual assault. It didn't land well with critics and is considered one of his rare misses. Still, Garfield's upcoming projects are as promising as ever. He's set to play Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy in Apple TV's Wild Things, star in the family film The Magic Faraway Tree, and reunite with Guadagnino for Artificial, where he'll portray OpenAI CEO Sam Altman in a biographical comedy. And that's really the story of his career so far. Andrew Garfield's journey is one of chasing a dream, losing it, and coming back even stronger. He refused to quit, whether it was after his future as Spider-Man collapsed, spending a year preparing to play a Jesuit priest, learning to sing from scratch, or being pushed to his limits in Angels in America. Time and time again, he didn't just challenge himself as an actor, but as a person. The difficult roles became his way of getting through his own struggles, helping him understand himself a little more each time. So there you have it, Andrew Garfield's career and all his best films. What's your favorite role of his? Share your thoughts below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe, and check out our Patreon for some cool perks. And until next time, have a good one.